Well, we do have a pressing story to discuss if we want to go into our third act here. Are you guys ready for this?
Oh, yeah.
Because Eggy evidently helped a guilty man walk free. Do you want to tell us the story, Eggy?
So, yes, back, I believe, in June, I received a letter for jury duty, which is the first time that I've ever had that. I think it's because I've also recently this year I'd put a vehicle in my name, so maybe they thought I was finally a trustworthy citizen. So anyways, I got it, and they kept pushing it off. They would have me call in, and it really goes to show how the jury duty system works. I would have to call in Monday after 5 p.m. to receive an automated pre-recorded voice message that would tell me if I had to attend jury duty at 8 a.m. on Tuesday morning. So about a 12-hour time frame of being able to know. And it went on for weeks. I'd get a new letter every 2 weeks, and it was just never going about. They called some jurors, but I was at like the bottom of the list or whatever, so I didn't have to get called in. I thought it was all done with, but then they sent me more letters. Anyways, eventually they summoned me after I was working overnight, so I had to just basically go right from work to sit in the courthouse, and had to wait an egregious length of time. I believe we had to report at, I want to say, maybe 8 or 8:30 a.m.
Of course.
I was halfway through the block of potential jurors. I got to leave at about 4 p.m. that day.
Fuck.
So...
Wait, how'd you get picked?
Hours of, it's random people who live in the county.
No, I'm saying, like, did you already get vetted by like the lawyers or whatever?
No, that was the that initial day where I was there sitting in solitude for 8 hours waiting for them to call me in to ask. Well, if they did have to ask questions, which they did, because so basically, to give a little context here, it was a criminal trial. I'm going to, just for my own sake, all of these are verified things, and if anybody really wanted me to link the case file, I could. But it gives a little bit of personal information about where I live and stuff, so I'm going to use some pseudonyms here. So Tyrone Jackson was a 50-year-old black man with 6 pending charges, or 6 alleged charges of criminal sexual conduct in various degrees, stemming from one alleged non-consensual sexual incident.
That's right.
So,
and when Eggy heard that, he said, "This man will walk, or it's going to be a hung jury, because there's no way I'm saying guilty."
Well, so basically, with it, they're like, how familiar are you with other races, and do you hold any prejudices against different races for any reason? And so I mentioned that I worked with people of many different races or whatever. I was like, I don't care. I didn't really want to have anything to do with it because I had never done it. And I'm like, I didn't want to have to fucking sit in the courtroom all day. Something I later changed my mind on. I will get it. This is going to be a full-fledged like story. I'm just going to give you like the whole shebang. If you do have any questions, feel free to stop me. But this was like a whole movie, really. So they finally pulled me in. They're like, so are you lay racist? And I'm like, well, obviously not. And then he, the defendant, who represented himself, by the way, so he got to question me. He's like, he said, you know the language? And I was like, well, primarily I know English, because this was like in relation to knowing other people. He's like, no, man, I'm talking about, the lingo, like, if I said dog, I'm talking about my homie. I ain't talking about, I'm saying like a dog.
Well, is this the defendant interviewing you?
This was in the initial vetting process, yeah. So like,
since he's his own lawyer, he gets to like choose his own jury.
Well, what it is, from my understanding, is they have the pool of potential jurors, and since he was representing himself, he got to, basically do what a lawyer would do, and then the state had a state-appointed attorney for the complainant. They each get to choose, I think, either 3 or 5 people that they want struck.
Some vetoes.
If I came in and I was like, had a swastika carved into my face and like maybe a burning cross, then he could say, all right, we don't want that cracker. So
you didn't have a Sharpie in the car?
We didn't know what we were getting into, but we got it was all part of the same thing. We got brought into the courtroom. They brought him out, and they're like, "Here's Tyrone Jackson, and yada yada. This is what he's accused of." They read the charges. We're like, "Damn," and he was like glaring at all of us directly the whole time. It was kind of uncomfortable. This was a ongoing theme that I'll come back to, but. So then we got brought back out to the assembly room, is what they called it, and they started, well, it took however long. We had to fill out our questionnaires, we had to write it all, then we had to sit for like another hour, and then they started calling it people in one by one for their questioning if they needed to be questioned. So anyways, yeah, after I sat in the witness stand, and then the judge said, "All right, well, we'll have you come back tomorrow." So then I had to come back same time the next day. And
did you get compensated for that 8-hour day you were there?
The first day, no, actually. I got
my
check
that.
Today.
This is fucking slavery.
I got my check today, and that day was not included.
Fuck that.
How much was it?
I got paid $20 a day.
Oh, wow.
With an additional, I'm not going to say because this is also, I mean, it is what it is. People, I'm just kind of doing this just to do it, but there was an additional small amount beyond that for my having to drive back and forth to the courthouse. So they calculated that amount based on where I live. So it was not much. It was not none of it was much at all in any case. Also, it's taxable income, but I'm not going to claim it. Fuck the system. They can't prove anything. Anyway.
They can't prove that you had jury duty.
How the fuck is that taxable? I'm not going to interrupt for that, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's in the fine print or whatever, which I read through it and I thought it was hilarious. So anyways, so we came back the next day, and I think we all get back to the assembly room, and then they I remember. So everybody who came back, there was some people who were immediately struck for whatever reason. But then the rest of us, we got brought back, and we all had to go into the courtroom together, where he basically gave us group questions. He was like, "So what y'all think about the police? Y'all like them? Y'all be racist? Like, what do you think? Would you?
Why didn't you say yes?
Because they would have got you if you said you're a racist and you hate the police or you love the police. I don't know.
The prosecution say, "Oh, we need him."
Well, no, the prosecutor. There was a lot of objections to how he was phrasing, so he'd have to rephrase. So he said things like, "Who here likes rapping music?" He's an older guy. He's like, who y'all like that rapping? Also, for the record, he was from out of state. So he was from the South. So he kind of had a Southern twist to a lot of his language, which I'll come back to this later. And then he's like, "How about y'all ever want to have sex with a black person? Male, female, I don't judge." And then there was like,
and you said, "That's right." You started clapping.
That's right.
Well, I mean, if people know about me, they knew. You
got jungle fever.
Well, in any case, no, there was like all these like old 80-year-old boomers. They're like, "I love all races. I don't see color. It's all about just as long as they're acting right, then that's okay."
That's right.
And I smoked the marijuana in 1960, and it was really just a lot of very cringe answers. He did not approach this at all. What he should have definitely done. Because it was an all-white jury, it is what it is. That's how it's going to be. We're in the middle of farmland in the north. Did
the prosecutor veto any black people?
There was, I believe, one Mexican woman who just didn't. She ended up, I don't know, somebody, whatever it was, she didn't make the cut. So somebody decided that she either wasn't necessary or whatever it was.
So maybe all the black people were smart enough to not do the phone call to the robot. So that they don't have to do jury duty?
Yeah, I would recommend, if anybody out there hasn't done jury duty, I would definitely look in how to evade it. Whatever law breaks, they can't prove anything. It's COVID. Just tell them you got COVID. It was just really, he definitely should have approached it from a misogyny angle. I think that would have gave him a lot stronger of a case, because he's looking at everything like black versus white. He should have definitely tapped into our misogyny a little bit more.
Is this more of a rape case?
Here. Yeah. So he was very racial and just trying to come at these questions like that. And
does anybody think women shouldn't be able to say no?
Well, no, this was something that got stricken from the record, but he's like, so how many of y'all Christian out here? And then like everybody raises their hand. He's like, so if I said only God can judge, would you still think I'm guilty? He literally said that. And like,
I will not have a mockery made of my courtroom.
Mr. Jackson, that is considered self-incrimination, and we're gonna need that stricken from the record. So I was like, okay, well, you definitely like. What's the first? When the trial hasn't even started, there's nothing yet. And you say that like you definitely did the shit.
Wait, the judge didn't like jump out of his chair like, holy shit, nobody ever tried that one. I never thought about it that way.
For the record, this was also the judge's first case ever. It was their first case.
God.
So he could have had an epiphany. That might have worked. Like, holy shit, I can't judge. I'm not God. Let this man walk right now. I'm going to move on with a new career. It could have worked. You got to give him props for fucking trying that one.
I'm going to keep the story moving along just because I could see myself talking about this for probably an hour in and of itself. So
Eggy, we can split this into 3 episodes. I don't fucking care. Take your time. Okay. This is a good story.
All right. So, I feel like I'm going to give a little bit of context to this here. So that he was defending himself, Tyrone Jackson, he was defending himself, and he was as it came to be, basically a member of the Nation of Islam and a black supremacist as well.
That's right.
Yeah, how many times did you say that's right in the courtroom?
Well, very much when because he representing himself, once he eventually took the stand for his own testimony, that was where the real Kino got down. But so he was kind of, he's asking these questions. I can't remember all the specifics, but it was very racially, like charged to see like if anybody's going to stand up and be like, he also said, who here would consider themselves to be prejudiced at all? And there was a guy who was definitely like King Chud, and he also ended up getting into the jury. So I don't know like how that, but it was like this old bartender guy, and he's like, yeah, well, I think we would all consider ourselves to be racist to a point, in certain ways.
Everyone's racist, including myself.
It breaks out in like the Avenue Q song.
Once I saw where this was going, I kind of did want to be a part of it because I thought it might possibly be Kino. So I was like, listen, I'm the most tolerant, non-judgmental person. Everybody tells me that. And he's like, all right, I bet.
You didn't say I'm an honorary black person, like I'm a professional rapper, like throw him your mixtape.
No, it didn't really come up.
You should have told him you were a rapper. He would have said, okay, he's got to be on the jury. He's got my back.
Well, I think I was, it was like me directly fresh off of work, kind of probably frazzled looking, young.
So you've been awake for about 22 hours.
Yeah, and it's like everybody else is like just elderly white people, so I think I probably looked possibly the most sympathetic. There was a couple other guys that were kind of close to my age, maybe like late 30s, that were like farmers, but.
And you've got that long hippie hair and kind of like right. The glazed cannabis eyes, so maybe you'll be on his side.
And I was more than happy to say that I did not, when I say I don't respect authority, it's like, I don't want that to sound like I'm a punk, but what I say is that the government is controlled by foreign hostile parties, and the CIA is a murderous entity and things of that nature.
Of course.
But anyhow, so we all got kind of gone through, we were asked to step out. They basically, the defendant and the state-appointed prosecutor kind of worked out their final selection. We walked back in, and they told certain people that were not final selections they could just leave. So those people left, and we sat down, and they pretty much got right to it. So then the state prosecutor it's if you watch these shows, which also this kind of came up multiple times, like we all watch Law and Order, right? And I'm like, I guess, but I don't
not really.
This isn't something that was going to be like my guideline for how this goes. But yeah, basically the prosecutor opens, they call their witnesses, prosecutor rests, defendant comes up, calls their witnesses, which there was no witnesses called to the defendant. Spoiler alert, but so the prosecutor opens, she's like, Tyrone Jackson, he rapes. He's a rapist. And I'm going to call witnesses today. We have our key witness, Shaquandra Russell. Shaquandra, I'm trying to think of what's a good last name. Her actual last name.
Lee Russell?
She sounded. She has a Ukrainian name. It's a black woman though. It was a black woman, but she had a Ukrainian name, which I thought was very interesting. And so I suspected maybe because he's from out of state, and then allegedly this sexual thing happened, and they said that he had never been charged with pimping, but they thought maybe he was a pimp. So I'm thinking, okay, all right, Ukrainian refugee comes over, gets trapped in the pimp game. But I was totally off on it. But Shaquandra
Zelensky?
Smith, I don't know, whatever. Shaquandra Zelensky, there we go. So Shaquandra Zelensky is going to come in, and she's going to tell you how Mr. Jackson took advantage of her, manipulated her, ultimately raped her, and you're going to hear from the chief of police who responded to her 911 call, and you're going to hear from the woman, because what it was that she entered another person's house to call 911 because of an alleged fear for her safety. So then there was the person whose house she went into or knocked on their door to use their phone, even though she was on the phone when she. So there's some inconsistencies that came up here, but.
So
this was the prosecutor. She's like, and you will find Tyrone Jackson guilty on all 6 counts. I'm like, oh, okay. So then
you kind of have your King Cobra operational defiance disorder kicking in. I don't like being told what to do, lady. I don't know. He's looking innocent to me.
Let me look into it.
Well, it was kind of it was, you ever
Fucking
read those old Sherlock Holmes, whodunit books and stuff like that. I wanted to see the pieces come together, and I wanted to see how it was going to come together. So unfortunately, Shaquandra seemed like a very nice lady. Unfortunately, she could not seem to keep a train of thought.
Oh, no.
And I feel like it really was... obviously, she needed to be the key witness. She's the one who called the police about this assault, allegedly.
Now, was her rapist who threatened her life if she told in the room at the time when she seemed a little scatterbrained and scared?
Yes. He was the defendant and also his own lawyer, so He also was the one who did the cross-examination against her instead of normally a lawyer would be.
Jesus! You can't let the woman's rapist.
Do I look familiar to you?
I'm gonna get into it.
He's holding a photograph of himself from that morning. Do you recognize this man?
But the thing of it is that they had dated for 4 years. So what we really needed, I think, as jurors was let's get to the meat of the situation here. Break down what happened. And there was not that. She started from. She played the piano when she was 5 years old, and she's talking about how her dad made the best barbecue chicken.
Oh my god!
And
who fucking cares, bitch?
But seriously, it was just pages of irrelevant shit.
Why?
We have to write notes. I wrote 30 pages of notes for the trial because this is what we have to go off of for when we deliberate. So it's just irrelevant shit constantly.
At what point do you say, bitch, I'm only getting $20 a day. I don't need your whole life story. Can we get to the rape part of the story, please?
Her witness testimony took the entire first day, and then it should have stopped there, but basically it was well, I'll get to it here, but it basically took the entire first day. So she's like, oh yeah, I love Tyrone, and I'll buy him anything he wants. And, we're both, she was also a 50-year-old woman. She had no children. She had been divorced multiple times. Basically,
really
her life was a total
material.
shit show.
You're saying you would have passed on that one, Rusty?
I would have passed on that personally. But.
Well, not to get too far ahead of myself, but basically an underlying theme was that because she was an old, unwanted woman with no money, that she would do anything that Tyrone wanted. She just gave him anything he wanted, which by his testimony, he thought she was really stupid and not very attractive, but she would just let him do whatever he wanted. And he was quote unquote freaky. So he just kind of went along with the situation. So they were quote unquote dating, but basically both of them were just old and had nothing going on with their lives. And it was just more of they called it friends with benefits, more of just, we both be wanting to fuck and, we're just both old and unwanted. So we're just going to, go at it, but
have children.
So you're saying she should have been thankful for it?
Well, Yeah, I'm not sure. It was the idea was also she had, I guess, previously to them meeting when she was like in her 20s and 30s, she weighed 400 pounds.
Oh my God.
But she had lost the weight. So good for her.
Dr. No is going to be so impressed.
But yeah, basically they met up and he introduced her. This is, I guess, allegedly. Well, she came from a background in the church, although she did not seem to be very much a churchly woman. But he met her and he is like, yo, my African queen, let me talk to you. And so he actually believed like the Yakub stuff. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. He believed that black people are like aliens from another universe that came to Earth and created white people, and that they're the master race and things of that nature.
I'll hear him out.
So yeah, basically, she's like, well, he was nice and he was talking about that stuff, but I didn't really like that stuff. But he was a nice guy and he gave me a massage and he took me to a nice dinner. So the day after we met, I sucked his dick in public. And
this way that long. Is that the language that she used on record?
I'll once again getting ahead of myself here, but all the jurors, because we couldn't speak on this to anybody or for any reason to anything, or it would be a mistrial. We couldn't talk to our family. We couldn't say anything to any other juror until we entered our final deliberation phase.
Which is why I definitely did not know about this until right now.
That's right. Because I told you after the deliberations ended and I gave you all that information then.
Correct.
But like the first thing that these jurors said when they entered was that they were all traumatized by the nature of this. And I'm so serious because I was slopping on his big meat, right in public, slurping it all up in public, and so anyways. And so yeah, a full courtroom of this. And she's like, I would be slurping on his I was slobbing his knob. I'm slurping him up.
I would have been laughing like that in the courtroom with tears in my fucking eyes. Oh my God.
I mean, if it wasn't, the woman who was allegedly raped, if it was just
but it sounds like she's describing a consensual sex act in that instance, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
you think the prosecution was like, can you try to make this seem, for our white jurors, make this seem a little bit
sympathetic?
The prosecution utterly failed. Like, there should have been, she's supposed to be like, she was like the real lawyer. Like, you should have got a fucking hold on this. But anyways, so basically she kind of goes through it, and her tale of it is basically as time goes on, he would just like show up to her house with his pants off, like literally like naked, and be like, suck my dick right now.
Uh-oh.
She must have been good.
Well, that was so. She had like a condition, like some kind of medical condition that made her pussy dry. So
what?
She became like an elite. Yeah, and this also played a part of it. It all comes together.
Oh my God! So she gives elite head because her pussy dry. That was part of the court case.
It is. It was central to everything here. So yeah, basically time goes by and they see each other, and after they were dating for about I think 3 years or so, they went out for her birthday, and she felt like he was just getting out of control. He was pissing in her face, per court testimony.
Yeah,
and he was like pissing in her face and making her lick his asshole.
That's exactly like Chuck Berry. Is that a black guy thing?
I don't know. I do not know.
All right, sorry.
I've met at least one non-black woman who's into one of those two things, so I don't know.
So
can't say which is which.
She felt like it was too far, and she felt uncomfortable at that point, so they separated for like a year. But then they got back together in October of last year because they're from down south, but her sister who lived up north was going to be out of town and asked the complainant to house sit for her. So she called back up to, her ex-fling and was like, oh, hey, well, I'm going to be over here. You want to come through and spend a little time together? I'll be so lonely. And he's like, all right, cool. I'll pull up. So they meet up or whatever. And I guess they walk in the door after not having seen each other for like a year. And he immediately just like fucking pulls his cock out within like 5 seconds and like grabs her and is like, suck this dick, bitch. So anyways, I guess that was all cool. I guess she didn't mind that.
Yeah,
She's
that's.
like,
I mean, in a way, it's romantic. Like, picking up with old friends, like you never took any time apart.
Exactly.
Yeah. But then later that night, after they had watched some TV, they retired to the bedroom, and she just wasn't in the mood. But he's like, but I wanna, and then she's like, all right, I guess, and then started having sex. And
with that dry ass pussy?
Well, that was the thing. I guess apparently she had bought lubrication in case it was necessary, but the lubrication was not applied. He basically just...
Oh, no.
She took her pants off, and he just started going at it, and she didn't give him affirmative consent. So, anyways, basically they went at it for, in his words, once again, court testimony, 3 pumps and a bust. and then he
I mean, he done that dry.
He done slipped that joker off his cock and threw that bitch.
Oh shit!
Threw that bitch.
Because then he tossed it aside. Yeah.
Oh, the condom. He called that a joker.
Yeah. That was part of his slang.
Okay.
So then they went to bed, and she woke up.
Was it
the
a
next
lubricated condom?
Well,
because that would have helped.
We had to look at the condom wrapper in evidence.
God damn it!
It did not. I can't remember. I don't know if we had a conclusive evidence that it was.
Is that condom in the room now?
Well, no. The thing was, this was also part of it. Was did he flush the? I guess he normally would flush his condom so that them trifling ass bitches couldn't try to have a baby by him and get his money.
Well, I was going to say, is like with O.J. Simpson having to put on the gloves, did you guys make him put the condom on in front of the jury?
No, that did not happen.
Okay. But
yeah, the idea was basically they got up the next morning and her pussy was sore. So she's like, damn, that was, he just went at it and it was too rough and he didn't even care about me. So I'm saying I did not consent.
I didn't even come. I'm calling 911.
Yeah, so he went to, I guess it was kind of conflicting testimony, which also made it very difficult to figure out what really happened. But like allegedly he was like sitting on the couch falling asleep or something. So she took that opportunity to walk out of the house into the house next door to call 911. And all she wanted was to have him removed from the property because she felt like he just was being abusive or whatever. Which I think there's probably some other kind of charge for that, but it was sort of like nothing was going to stick if it wasn't more. So I think that's why this charge was introduced. It was 6 charges. It was forceful, non-consensual penetration, forceful something or other, whatever it was. Basically the fact that she was cool with it, like, until like mid fucking basically made all of these charges not able to stick if they had any validity to begin with. So then that was basically it. That was like the end of her testimony. And then the prosecution rested after they kind of, her testimony was kind of all over the place. But so the defendant, who was also his own lawyer, he's like, so he starts asking questions and he's like, so did you worship this dick?
Wow.
That was his first question to her. And I will state, I'm going to go over the ones I recall most specifically. The prosecutor objected to a lot of his questioning, which is also why it took the entire day. It should have ended, but he had like a whole list of, I don't know, as it turned out. So once he finally got to speaking his piece, he wanted to point out that she was a freaky ass bitch and that he wasn't even into that freaky shit like she was, and that she was a freaky ass bitch.
He just found himself in kind of like a precarious situation, but she seems like she's the aggressor so far.
Yeah, so then he's like, and is it true that you done bought a mannequin with a big penis and you was fucking that mannequin with the penis? and she actually, the prosecutor objected, and she's like, no, I said, yeah, so he was trying to make me get some dildos to like get my pussy more spaced out because like I ain't been fucking, and so since we ain't been fucking, I want to make sure my pussy getting ready to get fucked. So, but I wanted one. It had a whole body on it, so I could like sit on it, and then I could know how to like ride on a dick. And yeah, he's like, and ain't you let me piss all in your face, and you would licking my asshole? She's like, yeah, we did that.
Do you think that they're gonna get back together after the trial?
Oh my God, yes.
Well, there was a non-admissible evidence, or like it was brought up and it was not allowed to be put into evidence.
Or that they're hooking up like every night after everybody goes home?
No, I guess there was somebody had put a restraining order on somebody, but I guess it was not relevant to the specific incident that we were ruling on, so it was not admitted to like sway it one way or the other.
Okay.
But
wait, he put a restraining order on her?
Well, basically, what happened was he was saying something. He's like, and about that restraining order, and then immediately like objection, inadmissible.
Gotcha.
So, I don't.
What did she say about worshiping that dick, though?
Well, basically, what it kind of came to be was, so she said that he wanted multiple wives, and he wanted to basically have his own compound for what he called.
Yeah, that's what Rusty was saying before the show.
He called black people the Earth race, and so he felt that the Earth race should be ruling the Earth, and so his idea was to have like a black power commune where they would study all like this black supremacist black. I don't think it's Black Hebrew Israel. I think it was like Nation of Islam is what from my understanding, something along those lines. But she felt uncomfortable about that. But I guess she would say that. That he would just like show up to her mother's house where she lived, just like completely naked, and be like, "Worship me! I am the black god. I am the black god who created the world," and something like that. And
there's a show that came out this year called Jury Duty, where it was like a prank on one guy and everybody else was an actor. And the court case you're describing right now is literally more crazy than the fake court case that came up with to prank this guy on a TV show. Like, you should, if you could have like secretly recorded all of this, we could have taken the best bits and made like a really solid, like 100-minute movie.
It was insanity. I think everybody said it was. I mean, even like the defendant, he's like, "Man, ain't this seem like a movie? Like, this is my life y'all playing with. My life y'all playing with. Yo, you put me in jail. This is years. I'm a sex offender. This shit crazy like a movie, man. But this is real life. This is my real life. I'm not guilty, man. I ain't do that."
And that was the speech that moved you to convince your fellow jurors that he's innocent.
Well, actually, his testimony, besides for the fucking insanity, because so they called witnesses. They called like the chief of police, and he just gave like boring, like, well, at this time hours, and he presented. Her police interview was recorded, and unfortunately for her, this same issue that she had when she was on the stand continued, where she could not stay on one thing for even more than a second. And she also gave her testimony was, "Oh, he was choking me out and I was screaming, please stop, please, you're hurting me." So we're like, okay, all right, well, it sounds definitely like rape to do. And well, actually, but I just, I didn't say that because I wanted to say it though, but I knew that that's what I said inside my own mind, but I knew that if I said that to him, then it would make our relationship bad. So I just let him do whatever he wanted, and I never said anything, and I also tried to pretend like I really enjoyed having that sex because I felt like it wasn't enough that I just, didn't say anything, but I also wanted to say that I liked it because then that would keep him more happy, and I felt like if he was unhappy, then he might, I don't know what he could do, which he had no criminal history, he had no prior convictions that was brought up, and that he was like a college graduate, and he had, I don't know what he was doing now. Apparently doesn't have any money right now, but apparently he did make money at some point.
Well, from my understanding, he's some sort of black god.
Well, exactly. Yeah, that's right. So that was the problem again, is that we listened to her recorded interview with the police, and she just basically just rambled on about nothing at all related. This was immediately like directly after the incident, and she had nothing to say about that the entire time. Like, it never came up. She was just also, by her admission, that she had been smoking weed, and she's like, in the police testimony, she's like eating like donuts or something, and she's like, my name is a good donut. He's like, so anyways, back to the rape you've reported. Yeah, man, you know, when we started dating, he would kiss on me and touch on my ear with his mouth. Now he just whip it out. He just put it right in my face. It's a good donut, though. I'm like, okay, well, this doesn't really, nothing's coming together here for this, the particular charges that we as a jury need to figure out. None of this is relative at all. So yeah, finally, otherwise unremarkable witness testimony. They basically just didn't really have anything to contribute other than just, it was what they called foundational. Like, okay, they're testifying that they were at this house on this date and they saw this person. That's all they really had to say.
Well, Rusty, you've heard, basically as much as any of the jurors. So if you were on that jury, how would you plead or whatever?
All right. So I did serve jury duty once, and I'm a big fan of that movie, 12 Angry Men. So yeah. I probably would have been in that deliberation room, saying, well, how do you know she didn't worship the dick? How would you send a man to prison without even just talking about it for a little bit?
Yeah, if she was subservient to that dick, then I think he has the right to, whenever he wants, right? Is that the idea?
I mean, I listen, I stepped away for like a fucking minute. So if I say something uncouth, it's because I didn't hear like the real damning evidence.
So basically, it sounds like she was not comfortable with it, but did not voice or behave in that way at all. And it was only in her head. And then the next morning she reported it. But if it has to be
like going to get some
what?
Oh, this is going to get some shit. But yeah, right. I mean, it sounds like it was just a normal kind of domestic dispute. She's disgruntled by how little he kind of I don't know, has concern for her or like the situation.
Well, he has a lack of respect for her as a human being,
and so that made her want to retaliate and like turn into something bigger, but without really thinking through what that would entail. I'm concerned, or I'm interested or confused as to how this even got to court. Is because she reported it and they had to do it? It seems like don't most of these cases get thrown out or never investigated. How did this one make it to trial?
I'm going to guess that, I don't know, because they really didn't have any evidence at all. So I don't know. After this is all said, but my first thought was he's representing himself. He must think he has a damn good case to be doing this. And it's not, he's out of state. He's not in any kind of comfortable, familiar area at all.
Yeah, he seems out of his mind for sure.
And he didn't take a plea deal. He could be found guilty on 6 felony counts of sexual assault, basically, which could put him in prison for many, many years. And he's a registered sex offender, something like that. If you're going to fight all that, and you're also going to represent yourself on the stand with everything, it's like you got to think in his mind, at least as far as I was concerned, that this has to be like an airtight case. Like he knows he's beating these charges, because otherwise, if there was anything to the contrary, he's doing fucking tons of years, and his life is over. Basically, he's already 50 years old.
Was he a registered sex offender before the court case?
He had allegedly, per testimony, he had never been convicted of a crime in his entire life, of anything.
Oh shit. Okay. Yeah. I mean,
he had no history. There's no police calls of domestic or anything for it. He did have an ex-wife with some children, and they had no legal issues. I guess it was an amicable split. This was another thing. Even though it was his ex-wife, he mentioned that, and I think I'm going to look this up right now because we never got this figured out. He had something called Stimulate and Consume Day. I'm going to see if we can figure this out, because this was allegedly in his mind what set it all off, and there's nothing even in Google that's coming up with stimulate and consume. But allegedly what set her off in his mind was it was supposed to be like exclusively them. They weren't having anything to do with each other or like anybody else. It was just going to be like a just them reconnecting time. But he did have a cell phone. He got a text from his ex-wife because it was Stimulate and Consume Day, whatever that means.
Look it up on Yandex.
Okay. But according to him, that like set her off, and that was when she knew she had to get revenge. Because how could you still be still with this?
So she has probably what's called atrophic vaginitis. That's a dry pussy disease.
Mm.
And he's just got an addiction to getting his dick sucked or consumed.
Yeah, he said that in his words. He was like, she was giving me them red flags. I knew that chick wasn't no good, but I needed to be satisfied as a man. I needed satisfaction, and she could satisfy me, so I just kept doing it.
So, because I did miss about a minute, what was the conclusion of the case, or did you already cover that?
Well, I'm not there yet, but
okay.
I guess I'll wait until.
Simian
I think. Yeah, I'm not sure if I've announced it anywhere at all since it's concluded, so maybe I'll save that for the thrilling conclusion here. But, yeah, basically it was just her. She just didn't have anything credible. We had listened to the interviewed police recording right after he had been detained. She had been brought to the police station to provide a statement, and she had nothing.
Yeah, it was nonchalant.
Nothing to say. It was just, basically, he doesn't even show me the same love anymore, and when we first were together, basically the exact same thing she doesn't understand. She's talking about stuff that happened years ago. It's irrelevant, and then somehow this just happened into halfway through consensual sex. Then he just wasn't paying her any mind. He was just doing what he does, and
he was closing his eyes and thinking of something else, and that's fucking. Listen, I hate these types of things, like trying to rationalize them or talk about them in any capacity, because it always ruffles a lot of fucking people's feathers, like if you don't say the right thing. But it's not funny, but one of our fellow jurors was a woman who runs a abused women's shelter. Got it. What'd she say?
Well, she immediately was like, this was the first day, because we came back, we deliberated for a few hours the first day, then we came back and deliberated like another 8 hours or 9 hours, and then came to our conclusion. But immediately she was like, I've seen so many rapists, he's definitely a rapist, guilty.
Yeah, it's like, so, I mean, and there's probably, I guess he is by the definition being used. And that's one of the things about deliberation in court is like, they tell you have to make your decision based on the law, not your personal interpretation of the law. So if the law says that this is considered the crime, and if you think that he's guilty of it, then that's how you come to your conclusion.
Yeah, basically, it was at the end of it. Well, and the funny thing about it too was, once again, not funny, but when we got to deliberation, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, but everybody in the jury was under the impression that these people were mentally ill.
Yeah.
Once Tyrone got on the stand, he was talking, he was using like he would be like, y'all don't overstand my mental. Y'all don't overstand my mental. I'm a woke, brown, black earth man, that's in touch with myself. I'm in touch with Allah and the supreme mathematics and divine geometry of the universe. Okay, y'all don't understand how woke I be and how I be trying to educate people like Shaquandra, she's a country bumpkin. Her family don't be knowing, but I be knowing because I be on that type time, you know what I'm saying? And I keep it straight up and down like 6 o'clock, Joker, you know what I'm saying? And everybody's just like drooling on themselves, like they get back into the jury and they're like, I don't know anything. I can't understand anything he said at all.
Did you understand what he was saying?
Oh, I did. Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. Eggy speaks that language, Rusty.
Yeah, that's the Elijah Muhammad coming out.
Mm-hmm. He said, y'all don't overstand my mental. He said that probably like 30 times during the trial.
And did you try to like telepathically let him know that you overstand his mental just fine?
Well, we couldn't emote or really we couldn't say anything, of course.
So we probably can't get him on the podcast. Do you have no way to contact him?
Well, spoiler alert, he is a free man, so maybe I could...
I thought I made that clear about 10 times that you let him walk.
Well, that is true. So yeah, anyways, I'm trying to think what all the finer points were. Well, basically took the stand and he kind of talked about how he was a woke, brown and black Earthman who was in touch with nature. He said that his children, they only eat the food that his wife prepares, that he has like he was like a professional gardener, so he had like his down where he's from, he had like a big garden, and all his children only ate the foods that they made, and they didn't eat meat. They're like raw, vegan, something or other.
Ooh, but sounds guilty.
But they eat fish, and they eat certain kinds of fish because it's like allowed by whatever they believe. But he was a physically fit gentleman, so whatever he was doing, he
had the vegan gains.
He had free form wicks, which you may not be familiar with. That is basically, it's like Rastafarian dreadlock hair. That he had like not like braided. It was like large. He kind of looked like like Coolio. Is that or who? I'm trying to think who had their hair like that. But he had like large, like free form kind of hair.
Like those actual turds kind of wrapped up in the giant dreads.
Yeah, Rusty knows that Florida stuff, but
yeah,
that Florida culture. But
that was Rusty's middle school style.
Yeah, right.
Pretty close, yeah.
But so he kind of goes through it. He kind of just breaks down what she mentioned, and he kind of didn't seem to like have really prepared anything. He kind of like came out swinging with all of the sex talk right away. And so he kind of sat there on the stand for like several minutes of silence at a time, trying to remember what else he was going to say.
So there's just a room full of people sitting in silence as this guy thinks of his next crazy story.
So basically what Rusty posted there, except he had just like 4 giant ones of those, not like the dozen smaller ones.
Okay.
This guy sounds like, it sounds like he might have, I hate saying stupid bullshit like this, but like narcissistic, sociopathic tendencies where he's very self-invested, thinks that he's this godlike character.
Yeah, that was kind of the general gist of what
when his opening question is, did you worship my BBC?
Right. So what did the judge say?
I'll allow it.
If the prosecutor would object to some things that he was saying, then she would decide, like, is it sustained or overruling the objection? Otherwise, she would say, have the parties approach. So the parties would approach the stand and clarification, because he didn't have a lawyer. Like, if he had a lawyer, then the lawyer would have said, oh, hey, don't talk about worshiping your dick, please. But it was like more like we got college stuff. So could you rephrase that question to the complainant?
Describe the judge, just so I have like a mental picture of age.
So you ever heard of a woman named Lauren Southern who did like YouTube and kind of like was right-wing YouTuber? Imagine her age progressed to 45 years old approximately.
Hell yeah.
So very, very similar. Like they probably come from the same background. So it was not Lauren Southern for the record, but basically looked exactly like her and was extremely the same as her. At least as far as I'm around, I haven't looked at her in a lot of years, but from what I remember her like a few years ago, age progressed to probably about 45.
So I would say that this person is probably, if you put them around 45, white woman, blonde hair, they're like a major elder millennial or younger Gen Xer who's probably a little bit weak culturally. I don't fucking know. But maybe sympathetic in ways where they have to kind of like watch. This is their first case, and they don't want to have, they don't want to put a black man in jail right off the bat. You think that they were a weak judge or a strong judge?
I don't think that we knew that it was the first case until after we reached the verdict, because then after the verdict was reached, then we kind of had what would you say? We all went back to the jury room, and then the judge came in and said, "Oh, do you have any questions about the jury process? And thanks again for taking time out of your busy lives to be a part of this trial." I think that's when she told us that it was her first case, but she had been a prosecuting attorney for like 20 years or something.
Shit. Okay.
So she was familiar with a lot of stuff. Didn't seem to me like she made any wrong calls as far as I could tell, with her judgingness. But But yeah, basically, so when Tyrone was on the stand, he was just like, and by the way, I never beat on her, and I was just trying to give her some extra woke knowledge about, being the black queen that she is, about how she should better life, and her family stuck in their ways, and so that's why they didn't like me. She's saying that they didn't like me because I mistreated her. No, that's not it, man. No, man, no. It was a lot of that. I'm like, wow, man, no, it's because I was putting new ideas in her mind about supreme divine African geometry and mathematics and our instinctual black powers that we have. And she's stuck in her ways. She didn't want to hear that her family, they overheard me speaking with her and putting this new knowledge into her mind. And they wanted me gone because they were afraid of what I could do mentally, not physically. I was not threatening her. They were afraid of my mental capabilities as a young black man who is very educated and knows myself and my worth and my surroundings.
That's right.
Eggy, at any point in the whole thing, did anybody crack a laugh by mistake or anything?
I think when they were talking about some of the sexual things, people kind of put their heads down in shame a little bit, and covered their faces.
Did you have to hold back a laugh, or did you remain pretty serious and mature?
I was like, huh, okay. It was so many curveballs. It was like, Well, the thing is that
you were on the season 2 of the Jury Duty TV show, and you just got fucking pranked, because that shit is insane.
They didn't tell me. They didn't bring it to me to inform me, but I'm just trying to think what else was he talking about. So he basically said, yeah, and she was a freaky bitch. I'd always tell her it's 3 kinds of women, and she'd be so mad because I never say what kind she is. But see, when she licked my asshole, and she was looking on my nutsack. That's when I said I knew this bitch a freaky ass bitch. But I ain't gonna tell her that because I know I don't gotta tell her to know. So she kept trying to come at me.
So freaky ass bitch is one of the 3 types of women. Did he say what the other 2 were?
I don't believe he ever specified.
Damn, God damn it. We need to find this man.
He said that, yeah, he was like, and once she licked my asshole, I never kissed her on the mouth again. And I said, you better not be kissing nobody on the mouth because you done put that mouth on my asshole. And so she's telling y'all that I don't love her no more. No, I just can't kiss you because you licking asshole. That's nasty. You a nasty bitch.
I'm sure that brought a tear to the old white guy in the jury's eyes. Well, he makes a damn fine point.
Well, so basically just for him to say yeah, and she was trying to get me to be in love with her, but I ain't gonna love no nasty ass, freak ass bitch. And she let me piss all in her face. We at the hotel and she kneeled down and she let me piss all in her face and she licked my asshole too. Hell no, I ain't gonna kiss another freaky ass bitch getting pissed in her face and licking asshole. I tried to tell her, I tried to give her some knowledge, but she is a freaky ass bitch. But I will say, because of her condition, and I didn't even know about her condition. I thought she just was, I thought she. Whatever, I didn't need to be having sex with her like that, but she just kept on putting the mouth on my cock. She kept on slobbing me up,
He didn't have any choice.
Well, I don't know. So, he testified that he didn't know that she just went right to the mouth angle and that she was elite at that head game. And she would it was I don't know, 3 or 4 times a day, In the incident in question, allegedly she went at it for, this was evidence, throat numbing ointment and mouth and throat numbing so that she could go for an hour straight.
Yep.
Anyway.
So her head game can't be that good if it takes an hour to come.
I feel like a victim of sexual abuse or rape would probably not find that last little segment as funny.
I think it's pretty fucking funny, dude. This whole podcast is killing me. My throat hurts now.
Oh yeah, yeah, throat goat.
Yes, I need the throat numbing cream right now for real.
So that was kind of basically it. Then he kind of just was still kind of thinking to himself. And then this was the stupidest thing. So he finishes, his testimony, and he's his own lawyer, so there's no direct examination. So it's a cross-examination by the state. And the only thing that they had to say, they sat there, the woman's attorney sat there and broke down his slang. And she's like, so you kept on talking about a joker. Are you talking about a playing card?
Oh, like, my fucking God, I hate the courts.
No, I'm talking about, like, when I said I threw that joke, I meant, like, that's just what I call stuff. Okay. And you said that you headed to the store for a minute. So you were in the store for how long? No, when I said I got to run out for a minute, that could be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. No, it's just like a minute, you know what I'm saying? That's like all she had to say. It was like a few of those things. No other.
Just to clarify, for sure.
Yeah, just so we're expecting this to be like the opening. She's like, all right, we're all sitting here. We, in our minds, we didn't say this to each other at the time. We couldn't. But when we entered deliberation, we were like, okay, up at this point in all of our minds, he's insane. He's a sex pest. He's a fucking predator. He's everything in his mind is sexual. He's a straight up coomer. He's definitely on some weird shit. So, and then, so the prosecutor just asked like 3 questions and he goes, okay, well, that's all I got. And we're like, what the fuck?
What the fuck?
Yeah, so then basically we go into, we have the closing statements. And so the prosecutor's like, as you can see, he is obviously obsessed with sex. He humiliated this woman in court in front of everybody. You all had to listen to his vulgar language over and over again. So I think you understand what kind of person he is, and you should convict him. Once again, a very emotionally charged, and we agreed, and he brought it up in his closing statement, which then he was told, you're not supposed to directly reference her closing statement in your closing statement or something like that, or you're too personal or whatever it was. But he's like, that's when he's like, this is my life, man. Shaquandra, she never told me anything was even wrong. She's a freaky bitch. She wanted to fuck around. She's a freaky ass bitch. She smoke weed and she be living in her mom's house. She ain't got no money. She a broke ass, freaky ass bitch. And yeah, she wanted some of this dick. Yeah, I gave the bitch some dick and she wanted that dick. And now you trying to twist up my lingo, man. Man, you trying to twist up my words. I'm a young black, brown earth man who came from the hood and got a college degree, and I have no criminal history. And all these white ladies trying to twist up my words make me sound crazy. And it's not like that. And y'all, if you look at it, you ain't got no evidence to say none of this happened the way she said it did. And if y'all convict me, man, I'm going to prison for a long time. My life's over, man. My life is in your hands. You're going to end my life if you find me guilty. So I am not guilty. Got it. And he's, I'm trying to think what else. Well, he like went up and he's like got like right up to like the jurors and was like staring directly in our eyes. And we were like, that might've been the one thing I think when we were like, I guess the judge was about to like split second away from like, order in the court or whatever, because it was like could be perceived as intimidation, but we were not intimidated. We just concluded, went back to the jury deliberation room, and we're like, well, these people are fucking crazy and they have serious problems, but there's really no reason for us to believe that this allegedly like 15 seconds of sexual contact that followed like an hour and a half or something of consensual sex. We had no reason to believe, based on the evidence and testimony, that suddenly it went left in the last 15 seconds. It was a lot more likely that it was just
was everyone on board
for him.
All the other jurors, were they all on board like that, or were some people arguing against it? How many jurors were there, by the way?
It was 12.
12, okay.
So we had one who was an older woman who ran a abused women's shelter. She was pretty hard to convince. And then there was also a lesbian police officer who did not seem very fond of men of this type and just
Black
kind
men.
of was. I think I think they said, exhibited extreme narcissism. Yeah, like predatory. He never cared about her at all to begin with. He just only continued being around because she was sucking that good dick. the best of any freaky bitch.
That's why I said black men. JK.
But yeah, basically at first they were like, I don't care, I believe all women. That was like the first day. Like that's why it took however long, and then we had to come back the day afterwards because they were like, listen, and I was like, well, I mean, there's pretty much literally no way that we could possibly know what happened because they're in somebody else's house. The complainant didn't even tell her sister that she was staying in this house. So she only knew about it once like the neighbors called her on her personal cell phone, like, hey, why are all these cops at your house? So she didn't even know what was going on. There was just like no evidence basically at all. Like there was a lot of evidence that everything was consensual up until that point, and then not really any way to know if it was non-consensual for that like 10-second period. So eventually that's what we all determined. And we finalized it. We went out and they read out all the not guilty verdicts, and he was over there just like on his side, like at his bench, just like doing like a hallelujah motion,
shooting dice.
And once they finally read like that all were not guilty, he's like, I salute y'all, thank y'all so much, man, thank y'all did the right thing, man. And then we all walked back, and everyone was like, oh, get me away from that freak. He's a monster.
Yeah.
But
we all put this man back on the streets together.
Yeah, there's like you had no choice but to put someone who's clearly a fucking like insane predator type, but just didn't.
There's no proof he did something this time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
I don't know. He sounds like a pretty heroic man to me. He has no criminal history. He has a college degree, and he can appreciate a freaky bitch. Like just because he's tied up in court that week doesn't mean he's necessarily a bad man overall, Rusty.
And it sounds like he also gave his. They should make a movie off this. Like
that's what I've been saying. We could make a movie out of this.
A Few Good Men speech, Al Pacino, and A Scent of a Woman speech. Like that was his court speech. That could be like a memorable piece of cinema.
Well, Rusty, do you want to play him in blackface?
What would the line be?
What is the tagline? Famous line.
Gentlemen of the jury, she worshipped the dick. Judge, how can you put a man in prison for 40 years for that?
Did he try to submit like his dick as evidence and show it to everybody so that they would understand the worship?
No, but also in regards to he had said that she had previously, and this was testified, she had previously, of her own volition, provided him with handcuffs and a ski mask for was a consensual, non-consensual role play experience. Where basically he would bind her and then like come into the room with like a ski mask on and pretend to assault her.
Holy shit.
Hell yeah.
She testified to that, but it all just boiled down to this like 15-second period of, did she say not anymore at this time?
Right,
and we could never.
And she basically said it herself that she only said it in her own brain.
Yeah. She said in her testimony after she said her words were, oh, I told him stop. I told him no. I told him stop. Yeah, I would have told him no, and I would have told him stop, but I knew that I knew I didn't want to upset him, so I just kept it to myself. Right. And I didn't want him to suspect anything, so I acted like I was really enjoying it and really having a good time.
Dude, that's a tough situation because that sounds like a non-prosecutable form of rape, like where he's got this control over her where she's afraid to even say no because that will upset him, and who knows what she thinks the results of that would be. Yeah,
exactly. It's like there's not a crime being committed. I mean, intimidation or something maybe.
On paper, there's no crime.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's also hard for him if they just had consensual sex 3 times and now he's going in for round 4, and as far as he can tell, she's into it and enjoying it. He has no reason to think he's doing something wrong.
Listen, I always say if the bitch's pussy ain't wet, then she ain't into it.
Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty good rule of thumb. Here's my rule of thumb: is that God says that fornication is a mortal sin. So if you're out here having sex outside of marriage, then you're risking going to prison for life on a false accusation. Incel victory, total celibate victory.
Well, Eggy, did you learn any other life lessons from this experience? And is that really the end of the story?
Pretty much, yeah. That's my full recounting. For the most part, as I can recall, there wasn't anything else particularly. I mean, there was plenty there. There was nothing else that comes to mind. But I feel like I would never want to go before a jury trial because, everything that we had to take notes. So we had to write. There was nothing. We didn't get like a transcript of everything that was said. If we didn't write it down in our notes, then
that's fucking wild.
We didn't have it, or we had to remember it from memory and hope we're remembering right. And you're in a jury with a bunch of like elderly people and people who are off of work. They have to miss work and miss their
nobody wants to be there, and they're getting poorly compensated and probably losing hundreds of dollars that could have made it work.
Yeah, and then they have to go off their own memory or whatever they write down, so they write something down wrong, and everybody else like, oh, maybe that was what that was.
Yeah, and now you're going to prison.
Exactly.
True.
It doesn't seem like a great. I mean, I get it. It's like, oh, your peers, we're not going to judge you. They're going to judge you. I'm like, I like the jurors. They were all pretty. None of them were pissed me off or anything, but. Fuck no, I don't want them fucking normies to have to rule out.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think, is democracy bad in every single possible way?
I don't know if that's democracy, but I mean, that's definitely the court system that we have.
It's a democratic court system, I'd say.
Can you imagine being a black alien who was an ex-god who traveled to a different planet? And then you get caught up in some like little civilian court drama, and you're supposed to be provided with a jury of your peers, and it's a bunch of old white humans.
Yeah, not one beautiful black man on that jury. But he saved probably $2,000 in court fees by not getting a lawyer. He represented himself and he won.
Lost. If he got a fucking lawyer, if he got like a public defendant, they wouldn't give a shit. They wouldn't have time to. His lawyer probably would have said, "This doesn't look good. Just take a plea." He says, "Nah, I can handle this."
Well, he understood that the argument that she is a freaky bitch really needed to be conveyed to the jury for them to understand the dynamic, and I don't think a real lawyer would have permitted him to even argue that. So he might have saved his own life right here.
Well, he definitely had my, after he kind of explained, because I was like, well, they never went into why was she married multiple times and divorced multiple times. Like, what's up with that? Why is she like 50 years old and has literally $0 and lives in her mother's house? Like, what exactly is going on? This woman seems like she's got some skeletons in the closet that are not being presented. And also something, I will say this, there is one more thing. This was never admitted or never administered as testimony because it was found to be irrelevant, but there was a statement made by him during something, I can't remember which part, but that one of her ex-husbands was now like a preacher at her family's church, and that he was trying to like leave his wife to marry like an 18-year-old girl or something.
Oh shit.
Like he started saying some of this, they started going off about it, and as like a reason why she shouldn't be trusted, but it was found to be like, I don't know, something about the way that he put the question, it got objected, and he didn't know how to rephrase it in lawyer speak because he wasn't trained on that, so it got pushed to the side.
What a fucking shitty lawyer.
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly.
That they lost to this man?
Yeah. They lost. Can you imagine? Yeah, like you're a lawyer. It's like you hire a lawyer. Like, oh, this is going to be so easy. This case is going to go over so easy. He's representing himself. He's fucking insane.
He's vulgar, disgusting.
Yes, he's going to talk about
disrespectful,
like, how worshipful his cock is, and how he's an alien. And then it's like your lawyer's like, he makes good points. I don't know.
He's speaking Ebonics over there, and I don't understand.
This is like if the jury's reaction to his like woke hotep language is any like, I think the lawyer had literally it was completely literally alien language to her. She had no idea like anything, so she couldn't necessarily refute it, or because nobody understood what he was saying.
Wait, the judge and the prosecuting attorney were women?
They were both middle-aged white women. Yes.
Yeah, well, listen. No conclusion to be made from that, but think about it, audience.
I think Obama versus Hillary taught us that in that matchup, the black man wins.
That's right.
Well, I
Shit,
think
man,
we've all
that's
learned a lot, and I hope all the audience is looking forward to growing up and getting a jury duty summons, and this is the kind of shit you can look forward to.
Hey, everyone should do jury duty for that one lucky case, because I did jury duty, and it was for a driving violation, and apparently like 95% of jury duty cases or court cases are all just for like traffic violations. So they're boring as shit.
So Eggy did get lucky.
You got really lucky.
Yeah, well, I got 4 days worth of pay. I just got the check today. It was for like $86.
Hell yeah.
Fuck that. They should pay you guys so much more.
I agree, but I'm getting this overtime right now. I just put in another 10 hours of overtime this week, so that's another like $35 an hour on overtime. So
you spent about a week of your life working at your job for 10 hours, and then another 8 hours at jury duty, and then what? You sleep for like 2?
Well, the jury duty was about 8 hours a day, so I had like 3 or 4 days that were 20-hour days.
And they don't give a fuck. Like, if you explain your job, they'll just tell you to quit. Like, what are you supposed to do if you're a normal human being and not fucking Eggy who can put up with slave, conditions? Because, like, if that was me, there's no possible way I can even drive my car after being awake for 20 hours doing that shit.
Well, the idea was, you're supposed to, it's like a legal thing. You bring in your proof of jury duty to your work, and they have to give you time off, no questions asked, but you're not getting paid. You're not going to work. So that's what everybody else was doing. They're just, not going to work. And
you're just doing both?
Yeah, I did both, yeah.
That's insane. Just to make $80.
You're like a person who I would say exists in the wrong time, either in the future or in the past. Back in the day, I don't know, maybe 200, 300, 400 years ago, you would have been recently like a fucking conqueror. and in the future, and for your sake, I hope the immediate future, you're going to be like one of the greatest raiders of all time. Like this man never sleeps. He stood 8 feet tall. He had more energy than 1,000 cannons. I don't know. I think that this is wasted potential, but I'm glad that you went through this jury duty situation. I don't know.
After it was all said and done, once the dust settled, and I knew, because they told me, I think the judge said after the fact that if we couldn't have reached a verdict within like a week, they probably were just gonna go for a retrial or something. But legally speaking, according to the court handbook or whatever that we were presented with on our first day, that's what we had to like read through before we even got selected. Legally, it can be up to 4 calendar months of deliberation. Which would have put me towards the end of January. I could have had to sat there and gone. I mean, when I was looking at that possibility, I'm like, how could I possibly survive this?
Yeah, right.
It was weighing kind of heavily on me, because I'm like, even just if I had to go through a whole full week in general, it ended up being just 4 days of trial and deliberations total. But if I had to even go through a whole full week, it was like, fuck, I'm gonna have to go work, and I'd already signed up for overtime, and then I wonder if that's like a
technique. Sorry, go ahead.
That's right. Well, I'd signed up for just a little overtime working in the office, but I also had like training come up. It was this training that I had to do. It was like an annual training thing that I hadn't forgotten about it, but I feel like they were supposed to remind me of it. They didn't, but I got in at like the last, like exact 12-month mark. I did a couple hours of that to do like to keep up my, whatever. It's like, I got to take a couple hours and go through like a thing. So it ended up being like 6 hours total of training I had to go through on Wednesday. So it ended up with that, and then it was all paid, and it was all considered on part of my check. So that's where the overtime came in, and I did the 3 hours or whatever that I'd signed up for. But with all that plus everything, fuck, I would have been way fried, because I was already it was already taking its toll on me for sure.
Dude, they should make it so where if you get picked for jury duty, I mean, obviously this would completely corrupt the courts, but you get paid more, so you can get like $150 an hour or something like that if you get picked.
Well, it should at least be like market, whatever market.
Yeah, market
rate.
prices.
Yeah. So like, because I do earn above average income based on like the average or whatever, but I mean, I wouldn't have minded if it was average. It still would have been close enough. It still would have been fucking way dozens of times more than what I made overall.
Yeah, because if you get stuck doing a 3-month trial and you can't go to work anymore, how are you supposed to pay your rent at that point? Like if you're living paycheck to paycheck, jury duty will end your life.
It will, yeah. It could literally happen. Jury duty could literally, and I think probably if you had brought that up at the initial whatever, they might have, excluded you or something, and maybe they would have pushed it out like, oh, we're not picking right now, we're going to pick again in like a month or something. Because this had, what we were there for had occurred October of last year. That was when the incident occurred, and then I think they had started doing the initial jury something or other in like December. So that's how long it took for this even to come together in the first place. Another reason why I wouldn't want to do a jury trial if I was accused of something, because you're going to be sitting there for months, if not years, waiting for a trial to come together.
Wait, so what's the alternative for a jury trial is just taking plea deals that are given to you?
I believe so. Yeah, that's probably what's the other.
Fuck that.
Well, then I think if you
take guilty,
because then but I think if let's say if you took 2 years of you being in jail before you even got your trial, I think if you were found guilty of anything, you would have time served applied to your sentence in that regard. But if you weren't guilty, you spent 2 years of your life waiting for a jury and a trial to come together, so that would suck.
But you could have like, I mean, for you personally, you could have like people on the internet kind of free Eggy campaigns and right. Money coming your way or whatever. You can come out a rich man.
Very good point.
Me and Rusty get a cut of the GoFundMe for the free Eggy campaign, I assume.
Yeah, I'll make
it. Be my campaign manager.
Well, guys, I mean, we've been podcasting for 3 hours straight, and Eggy's story made me laugh so high pitched that my throat does actually hurt now. So maybe we should wrap up soon. If there's anything you guys want to plug yet again.
I think I've spoken everything I need to speak about today. I'm gonna go and freshen up, and I have some people that want me to do some streaming since I haven't streamed in like 3.5 weeks.
Oh, we're getting an Eggy stream tonight.
This fucking motherfucker is what I'm saying. He's like Goliath, or maybe not Goliath, but like another warrior from a different time that after 3 hours of this, he's ready to do another 48.
Maybe he's taking Adderall.
No. I gotta work. No, I'm not on anything. I have to work tomorrow, so I'm thinking maybe like a 5 or 6 hour stream, something.
Something light. Yeah.
God bless you. Yeah.
Yeah. If I stream for over 2 hours, it's like, damn, what a marathon this has been. Time to log off.
This has been 3 hours. I'm like, I'm about to pass out.
Well, we trash ratted it up again. Next time, I'll invite Reactor to join us if he's not too pissed that he missed out on the review of Triumph of the Will. I know he really loves that film. But you guys have any final thoughts?
Shout out to the viewers.
Hey, assalamu alaikum.